Welcome to the podcast series on sexual health for seniors with Dr Sue Gledhill and Fran. This podcast series is based on conversations with seniors about sexual health, sexual desire and related matters that were conducted as part of a research study through the Queensland University of Technology. In this session, we will be discussing Angela and her experience of sexual desire in older age. Welcome, Fran.
Thank you, Dr Sue. I'm really excited to start talking about Angela because the whole attitude of where sexual relationships were and the boys' part and the girls' part, and I use that term specifically because I see a lot of the things that she's saying there is what boys do and what girls do. There's that really a form of innocence in where she seemed to be coming from. So I'll be really interested to tease that out a bit in this conversation.
Thanks, Fran. So let's introduce Angela, the focus of this week's podcast in the Sexual Health for Seniors series.
Angela was a vibrant and dynamic lady whose exuberance belied her 80 years of age. Thick, wavy hair, a sunny smile and a buoyancy of movement were evidence of Angela's robust health and enjoyment of life. Angela seemed to bounce rather than walk, and there was an aura of radiance about her. She had been married to Brian for over 60 years and the couple enjoyed a close, loving sexual relationship. Angela's entire narrative described her experience of sexual desire because it was clear that Brian was the centre of every aspect of her world, including her sexual world. In her words, Angela described her feelings.
It's an expression that I feel for my husband. Sexual desire is an expression of love, a sharing or something, and I couldn't feel that for anybody else while he is alive. It's something that probably has built up over the many years of our marriage.
Angela recalled a recent incident that reflected the couple's intimate relationship.
He had broken his leg and we moved downstairs while he recovered. And after that, I wanted to move back upstairs, but he didn't want to use the stairs. He had lost confidence. One day, I stood at the top of the stairs and called out, "When you get up these stairs, I'll give you a bit of nookie." He made it up those stairs so fast you wouldn't have thought there was anything wrong with him.
Angela and Brian had experienced a long and happy marriage of almost 60 years, and they both continued to enjoy an active sex life that Angela said occurred every week, sometimes twice a week. In recent years, Brian had experienced significant health problems which had been a major concern to the couple. There had also been reduced sexual activity while Brian recuperated from surgery. In describing his health, Angela reflected,
"Brian's had a lot. He's had a lot. He's had inches cut out of his bowel and stitched up. Then he fell and broke his leg. Then a month after he had the cancer, he took a fit."
Fortunately, a family member who was a medical practitioner helped the couple navigate through the health system. Angela was grateful that someone in the family had medical knowledge and was looking out for them. Angela retained her sense of humour. On one occasion, Angela said the doctor rang to allay her fears.
He rang and he said, "Everything's fine." And he said, "Brian's brain is in pristine condition. It looks as though he's never used it." I said, "Well, that's good. That's lovely. We already know that his brain doesn't get used too often."
Angela laughingly described the frequency of her sexual relationship with Brian when they were younger.
"We had sex whenever we wanted it. Well, I was working all day and Brian was driving the trucks, working hard. But it's a part of your life. You're not going to go and say, 'It's Sunday today, so we'll have sex.' Well, that's how I feel our life has been. It's been spontaneous."
Angela had experienced a fulfilling sexual life throughout her marriage to Brian, although they had never discussed their level of satisfaction with each other.
"I've always been satisfied. I don't say to my husband, 'I'm terribly satisfied.' I just presume that he understands that. The desire is there and it's an important fact, very important to a man. But if I didn't have it, it wouldn't matter."
Angela's words revealed her somewhat traditional belief that engaging in sexual activity was more important to a male than it was to a female. Angela also believed that there were gendered levels of sexual desire.
"I probably haven't got the same desire as a man's got. I couldn't say a hungry need and then I'm satisfied. Sexual desire to me is an expression of love, a sharing or something. But it's just a pleasant feeling."
To Angela, male sexual desire was focused on meeting a biological necessity of life, a hungry need, whereas female sexual desire involved feelings and sharing. In effect, male sexual desire was regarded by Angela as egocentric, while female sexual desire was considered to be more altruistic.
Fran, what do you think about that?
That's a bit shocking, actually, if I'm really honest.
Yeah.
Traditional, yes, but ancient traditional. I was trying to put in place where man as the hunter and woman as the
Subservient.
Subservient or submitter to. And while that obviously didn't play out in their obviously very happy and fulfilling sexual life, it was that Brian was the initiator, and it was Brian,
Yes.
That I found quite difficult, and it's my mindset that I'm probably having trouble in matching what her mindset was, you know. I just think that it is shocking that there is this idea that man's biological and woman is caring or something. It worked for her, so who am I to judge? But in terms of trying to understand that, I don't.
No.
I just don't understand it.
No, I probably had difficulty with that myself because she was such a strong personality. She really was. And he was. I just met him briefly. He wasn't part of the interview, but he was there, and I interviewed them over several different times.
Sure.
And he was always a quiet, humble type of man who stayed in the background. And then to hear her words, they were kind of very much out of sync with what you could observe. But, I felt that what she was saying was that, she enjoyed it and it was really an important part of their life, but she could take it or leave it in a way.
And isn't that true? Wow, that's a whole new world, isn't it? And in terms of her level of confidence, am I missing the point that by her framing that, and we don't know what sort of education or what framed that mindset, am I taking that at a shallow level? Is that whatever her mindset was, she was happy, confident, it was a very satisfying, fulfilling marriage for her sake, and you thought, well, who am I to judge that it wasn't? But the mindset is in terms of leading to where she was after 6 years of marriage.
Yeah, but I also...
have I got it wrong?
No, I don't think so. And the other thing was her words about she wanted him to move back upstairs and he didn't have the confidence to.
Well,
so she used sex as a tool, if you like, or a bribe to get him up there. And, I thought, she had her own ways of manipulating the relationship as well.
Sure.
And I often think can sometimes be the case in that traditional model of a relationship where the woman is the power behind the throne. And it's
very
cater.
subtle.
Yes. So it was quite an interesting relationship, that one. Yeah, it was.
Because I was thinking when it come upstairs, well, why not go downstairs?
Yes.
Why does it have to be? And that was another thought. That if we're talking about traditional, it has to be in the bedroom upstairs.
Yes.
You just all of the thoughts start rolling out then, don't they?
That's right. But if you look at some of the TV shows where the younger people that are hot for each other, if you like, as soon as they're through the door, right? Standing up, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, Kitchen, who cares? Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. And if there's the only two of them in the house, that is the place for sexual encounter. It's got to be upstairs in the bedroom. So that's right. Really interesting, isn't it?
Although when you think about, reflect back to her saying that they used to do it anywhere, in the truck when they were travelling.
Yeah.
So they've moved. They've changed into a more, maybe they were more adventurous in their younger life sexually, but they've changed into a more of a traditional missionary type style of sex, if you like.
Yes, exactly. Not too easy in the truck. Sorry, that was quite crude, wasn't it, Sue? You can cut that out if you want to.
No, that's all right.
Angela admitted that while she enjoyed her sex life with Brian, she never initiated sexual activity. Initiation of sex was entirely determined by Brian's inclination and current well-being. She noted that
it depends on how much energy he's got, I think, because the instigation comes from him all the time, if you know what I mean. Even his health problems lately haven't put the kibosh on anything. I mean, with all Brian's operations, I noticed absolutely no difference in his sexual drive. I reckon if he broke the other leg, do you know? It used to worry me, the fact that he would hurt himself, but not as much as if I can't have you, he would say. And you know what? If his health did stop him from having sex, I would do everything I could to help him.
I'm blinking. I'm really blinking at that.
Yes. And I think that's a real giving relationship, but there is some contradictions in there with her as well.
Absolutely. Angela considered that sex with her husband was something special and important. Sexual desire was intertwined with fidelity in a relationship. Angela valued her sexual relationship and expressed hope that those same values of showing love for a partner were passed on to the next generation.
When you love somebody, you're going to put your arms around them. You've got to have good companionship. It's very important, especially when you retire. And to have something when you retire, because your kids have left home and you only have each other most of the time, being honest is important too. Well, that's what makes us.
Couple had always supported each other throughout their life together, and over time had forged a strong bond based on love, companionship, sexual enjoyment and honesty that seemed certain to last their lifetime.
They were very family-oriented, Fran. There were a lot of family pictures around, and they showed me the pictures and said who their children were, their adult children, and very proud of them. And yeah, they were a tight unit, if you like, a tight family unit, and as a couple, a tight couple as well. But
right.
Yeah, I think she would have done everything she could to support him. I presume she was referring to or inferring sexual dysfunction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that she would help him in whatever way she could.
It sounds like he had, by having some part of his bowel removed, you know, we're talking about cancer or something like that, and she didn't notice any drop in his sex drive after wow. No. Good on you, Brian.
That's right. Yes.
And I'm being crude again, but I'm thinking that's not going to make you feel very well.
No.
You know? I mean, in a really base sense, that type of surgery is really going to knock you flat for a period of time. And good on you, Brian.
Yeah, I think their love would carry them through.
Sure, absolutely. So the central protagonist in Angela's narrative was her husband, Brian, who featured in almost every scene. Angela's world revolved around Brian and reflected the enduring and happy union that Angela described. Having sex with Brian, to Angela, was more about fulfilling his needs rather than her own. While she enjoyed their sex life, Angela was ambivalent regarding her own needs. Brian's sexual desire was another matter altogether. She knew how important sexual intercourse was to Brian. More importantly, if Brian was unable to initiate sex or physically engage in sexual intercourse, Angela had asserted that she would do everything she could to help him in fulfilling his sexual desire, thus confirming the value that she placed on privileging Brian's sexual desires over her own, and the virtue of the sexual relationship within the total relationship. Despite their obvious love for each other, without the sexual aspect, their life together would be lacking an essential element.
Yeah, I think it would. Obviously, I can't see them ever separating or anything like that, but there would be a significant loss there, I think, for both of them.
In the colour and tapestry of their relationship, that was an important part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And I think in a lot of ways, as you get older, and we've talked about this before, where health issues will take over and that kind of thing, but sometimes that it is a really significant part of a relationship for people even into their old age.
Yes.
And I think we don't always think that.
We don't think that. And and we've also talked about what is normal.
Yes.
Older people admitting to having a happy and healthy sex life. Oh, don't tell me about that, Granddad.
No,
or,
that's
Mum,
right.
really. And I think that can flavour, it's obviously not going to flavour whether the couple happily engage in their sexual relationship, but it might influence how much you talk about it because it's not normal. And I hope, if nothing else, Sue, that we can tell people that it is normal. It is normal.
That's right. Although Angela was such a vibrant, dynamic type of personality, I think she would have had a very open relationship with her children as well. You know, and I think there probably weren't too many secrets there.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
It's not. It's a real good thing.
Yeah. So, in summary, Angela had experienced a long and happy marriage and was very comfortable with all aspects of her relationship with Brian. It was clear that sex was an important part of the relationship and that if circumstances changed, her love for her husband would be uppermost in importance and she would do all she could to maintain the core aspects of the relationship.
Well summed, Fran.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Dr Sue and Fran Cahill, and we've been talking about sexual desire in older age. The focus this week was on an interview with Angela, or several interviews with Angela, and her experience of sexual desire as an older woman. We will continue with our series on sexual health for seniors in our next podcast.